Hey everyone, it's Dr. Neville Campbell, and welcome back to the Wellness Hustle podcast. It's been 9 months since we've been operational. Time is certainly flying. But beyond the 9 months, though, is the content that we have been producing, the stories that we have been discovering, and the truths that we have been exposing. We have been getting deep. We have been really connecting with some of our guests. Today, we had a major lineup. And at this point, last but not least, we have attorney Atty LaMarr. And he's an attorney here in Atlanta, but also practices in other states as well. And today we'll be chatting a little bit about his story, his journey, what makes him interesting, what makes him unique. He has been seen and featured on CNN, Fox and TMZ. He has recovered millions of dollars for his clients, and he's an award-winning attorney who also serves as a professor, going back to Howard University and giving lectures, giving back to where he started. Folks, let's uncover his story today. Help me welcoming attorney Atty LaMarr. Man, it's a pleasure having you.
Appreciate it.
Absolutely, my brother. Thank you for coming, man.
Absolutely.
Yes, sir. Man, so, we met. When did we meet?
And it's probably been at least
A year
now.
Yeah.
And I think the first time we met, you were on doing a book tour. So I remember that, and just kind of hearing about your story, just actually seeing you, transition to the practice in Atlanta. It was just, I guess it was just in the cards for us to come together.
Man, I appreciate you staying in contact and even remembering that book tour. I mean, certainly there's a book that you're one of your really good colleagues, Judge Carlos Moore, him and I and a couple other brothers, we wrote this book, The Five Brothers. It's, and we did a book tour in Atlanta. I think it was at in COVID or late COVID.
Yeah.
We did a book tour here. So that's when you came up and supported.
Absolutely. I was there.
Man, like you said, it's been in the stars. It's been in the stars of coming, man. Well, I'm finally getting a chance to really meet you on a more professional level, working together with you as well, and just getting an understanding of who you are as a person. Man, when I think of you, I never really thought of a large attorney doing big cases. But after I've dug a little deeper and uncover a little bit more, each layer I peel away, I'm more and more impressed at the work that you've done, and how you're navigating this legal space. And we're going to talk about this because it seems like you've laid your hands on a lot of big, really big cases that require legal skill, understanding. And it seems like your name is among the names that surfaces at that higher level. We're going to talk about the journey to get there. A lot of attorneys I know now are young and, they're coming out, they're eager to learn, they're trying to figure it out. But certainly hearing from the people who've done it before and seeing what their path has been and getting the pearls from them certainly can be helpful. And I think that ties in quite nicely into sort of what you're doing now in the teaching aspect, giving back to, future lawyers that are coming on the scene. So let's talk about law. How did you get to law?
Well, it was a long story. It was a long, story to kind of get to this place. I started originally from Milwaukee, Wisconsin. And I remember always having this entrepreneurial spirit. I would be always selling something. I remember going back to even high school, there used to be a company called Cutco Knives. I would be, selling those, or then I ultimately got into like insurance sales for a small period of time. I did real estate investing, and then obviously you were trying to always move your properties. So it was always something that I always felt like I was inclined to tell a story to try to enhance someone's lives by my work. So that ultimately led to me starting a company that concentrated and focused on homeowners who were had properties that were damaged by storms. I set up offices in about 4 or 5 states, going back to like Hurricane Sandy, a lot of roof damage, a lot of windows, whatever you name it. We would bring those claims on behalf of those homeowners, and we would try to adjust the claims, negotiate those settlements. That was kind of my first inclination that I need to be more serious about my pursuit in law, because there would be times in which you would get to a certain place and the only remedy would be to file a lawsuit. So, I always had this passion. If I go back to even middle school, in high school, I was on a debate team. So, understanding what authority supported a certain point was something I always felt like I was good in advocating. So it just kind of caught up, life presented itself, and it gave me an opportunity. Had motivations from the great attorney Willie Geary, who was based down in Florida. I seen him on CNN one day, and I'm like, man, look at him. He had like a $23 billion verdict. And, I'm seeing him, and that was just like the last straw for me. Like, you know what? I need to go ahead and
figure this out.
Yes. Yeah. So that's what kind of got me. I immediately, even after having a long entrepreneurial career, I went to law school as being a little bit older, so I, went back, had to complete my undergrad, ultimately take the LSAT, go into, law school at Howard.
Gotcha.
And that was probably the best decision of my life. And it also revealed my purpose.
Yeah.
And that I think a large part of why things kind of unfolded the way it did, because I think it was just in the cards for it.
Yeah. What is your purpose?
So I think that ultimately it is to be an advocate for the underserved. I think my personality, many times I'm kind of, laid back and kind of chill, but then there's this other side of me that is more bold, that is assertive. And I think that when I kind of tap into that, and then I leverage my background in always telling a story. So if I'm trying to get you to sell you something, if I'm trying to get you to take a certain act, then I have to be able to explain to you the benefits, give you the rationale for it, so it's a logical decision for you. So when I think about my clients and telling their stories, that's the same principles that you have to apply to be a good trial lawyer. You need to be able to make it simple, make it plain. It could be a complex situation, but you have to get it to a point where everyone that you're talking to can kind of identify with it to come to the same outcome that we are advocating for them to get to.
Gotcha. What, aside from Willie Geary, what else pushed or inspired you to become a trial lawyer?
Well, I think that obviously money is important, and it's something that we definitely need. But I felt like changing society, making a difference. I wanted to be to a point where I have a legacy, in that I did not just come and just kind of go through the motions. I wanted to be to a point where people could remember my ability to go out, to bring attention to a certain matter, to fight for the underserved when no one else would do it. When it might be a situation where there might not be a lot of profit, or, the settlement might not be very significant, that there would still be somebody who could lend an ear. So I do take on a lot of big cases, and we have over, probably $130 million in verdicts and settlements at this point. But I also take on cases that have no monetary value at all. Sometimes it's just the purpose is just for the purpose of trying to change society or bring attention to a situation. Because I think about, what would I want? If I was in that situation trying to, get to a point of understanding what my clients are going through, I would want somebody to come through and advocate to try to make things better for me in the future. So that's what I try to do, while also trying to manage, heavy caseload.
Gotcha. I know you managed a lot of cases. You just mentioned that you've recovered possibly over $130 million. I'd like to hear about two cases, not specific cases, but cases that are probably memorable to you. One, what's one of your most memorable cases, and what's one case that probably didn't go so well, and retrospectively, things could have been done differently? Let's start off with the former, a case that went exceptionally well because you believe that you did make an impact.
Sure. I would say one case I'm thinking of, did result in a very significant settlement. Can't go over what the terms were, but it was one in which the city officials would not, did not want to bring justice to a situation. They wanted to kind of hide from it. They wanted to sweep it under the rug. It was one in which we got in the forefront of it, advocated, did our own investigation. The company that was involved, we were very aggressive in pursuing the claims against them as well. And based off of relationships, based off of having a reputation to get results, it worked out very quickly. It was probably one of the quickest resolutions in the situation. So that's one that kind of stands out. But just because of certain confidentiality agreements, can't go too far into that one. But I also think of situations involving one person's civil rights that we believe that it was a criminal case. And that was one that kind of, I think that it didn't go quite as we wanted it to, but it was definitely a better outcome than when we encountered it. So it was one in which I was called when a case was about 30 days from trial. It was a criminal case. And I got a call. And the first time I got the call, I said, you know what, I'm not, I can't take it on.
Case, yeah.
Can't do it. And they end up calling again, maybe like 7-8 months later. But this time it's 30 days from trial. So I said, okay, I'm going to look at this video. And that case ultimately was one that went on court TV. This individual had his life on the line. If he was convicted of the charge in this case, he was looking at a mandatory life sentence. And it was one in which there was a lot of racial issues. He was accused of killing a white lawyer. So now it was one that I'm like, okay, if I'm getting ready to put myself in this one, now it's a colleague in which the claim is against. But it got to the point where I just have to make a decision, and it pulled at my heart because everyone deserves a defense. Everyone deserves justice. So when I actually looked at the facts of the case, I think it would be unjust for an individual to go to jail for life for what he believed to be a self-defense claim. So that was one that I knew was going to be controversial. It was some sleepless nights in making the decision to get involved, but it was the right thing to do. Ultimately, we got him found not guilty of the first degree intentional homicide, which would have landed him a mandatory life sentence. Also not guilty on the second degree intentional. And then he was ultimately convicted of a lesser offense. So again, we wanted, complete not guilty, but we definitely came and mitigated the circumstances. So we're really proud about doing that. And again, that case was not about money. There was no monetary benefit whatsoever. And if anything, we invested more money in the case because it was just the right thing to do. And I think that when you have that type of demeanor and when you operate that way, I believe that God simply blesses you. Because then I get other cases that have very high results, whether it be verdicts or settlements. And, it's just, God always has his way to take care of you out when you have a pure heart, for sure.
Amen to that. Amen to that. Let's explore sort of your law firm. How many people are on your team?
Yeah. So right now, there's about 7 people that we have that kind of handle managing cases.
Yeah.
From the senior paralegals to case managers. Then I also have a company that's called WC Communications that also helps manage the press and inquiries as it relates to that for our publicists.
Gotcha. So let's talk about plans for. So I know Georgia is not the only state that you're in. Which other states are you practicing currently?
Sure. So Texas and Wisconsin are other states that I also practice.
Gotcha. And what is your plan for the next 10 years? Are you planning for multi-state expansion and branding, or you feel like it's going to be a moderate sized practice that you cap after a certain point of expansion?
Well, I'll tell you this, that between Georgia, Texas, and Wisconsin, they keep me definitely on the road and very busy. But I also currently take cases that's outside of those states. So we will pro hack in to other states. Right now, I have a couple cases in California that are still in litigation at this point. One of them is against the city of Beverly Hills, the case that we claim that there was racial profiling, where there was over 1,000 arrests and only, I believe it was 2 or 3 convictions. So we believe that it was just a culture. So that's a case that I'm involved in with attorney Ben Crump and Brad Gage, and it's a big class action lawsuit that we're working on out there. I also have another case in California involving T.I., Tiny, and OMG Girls. That's a case that is still pending as well. But so we do take a lot of stuff that's outside of those. So we will continue to handle cases outside those 3 states as well.
How do you find these cases? Do they find you?
Yeah, they absolutely find us. I think that it's when you reach a certain level of getting, brand recognition from other cases that you've handled, pretty much outside of like car accident cases, pretty much all of my caseload are like high profile cases. So that involves, kind of managing a lot of aspects of the media, and ultimately it results in a lot of people kind of seeing the work that you do and reaching out. Or co-counsel. A lot of cases are referred from other attorneys as well. So that works for us.
And so my question here, though, is when you got out of law school and you're planning this journey, civil rights and personal injury, did you foresee this sort of success, or was it just the passion that you went in it with that ultimately revealed the level of success that you're currently experiencing?
Yeah, so I really envisioned myself being successful as a lawyer. I remember even sitting in law school, reserving domains, different, simple phone numbers that would be used for marketing purposes, kind of mapping out what the logo is going to look like, what the vision is, really just kind of envisioning how you envision your brand to be and what would it stand for. Those are things that I think was very clear to me back at that point. So when I think about how the career unfolded so quickly, definitely I was intentional.
Mm-hmm.
But it's not any of my own effort. I believe it was completely God's plan, that he put the right people in place along the journey. He opened up doors. And I think that with my work ethic and just my natural passion, things just kind of unfolded to be expedited. So I'm really, I just really think that, it just kind of got real when I was, even meeting like President of the United States, Joe Biden in the meeting, being on CNN, going at first to Donald Trump and the Secretary of State on different issues. That's when it just kind of came real how quickly this thing has evolved. But I do definitely believe that it was God's will. And that was the really secret to how everything happened so quickly.
Do you have brothers and sisters or descendants?
No, so I'm the only child. I do have a half brother and a half sister. But I am my mom's only child. I was raised an only child. And so I remember just growing up that I would, just love to just go play with, whoever. You have to definitely develop the skill where you kind of can keep yourself occupied. So I can go do anything by myself at this point. I can go take a trip by myself if I want to. You just really get this level of independence at that point. But that's how it was.
Is mom still around?
She is
still around. How often do you see her?
Well, I see her. She's actually based in Wisconsin.
Okay.
And because I have so many cases out in Wisconsin, I happen to see her usually at least once or twice a month.
Yeah.
But we talk all the time.
What does she say to you now, seeing what her son has grown into? Does she even understand the level of success that you're currently experiencing?
Yeah, I think it's surreal. I think obviously, as most parents, they always believe in their child, and they know that with a certain work ethic, you can become anything you want. But I will say that the time frame in which I reached these different levels, I think even is mind blowing to me. Sometimes when I sit back and reflect, you know, we have ups and downs. There's times in which, regardless to what level of success you have, there's days in which you like, no, you can have bad days and, you know, you gotta, restore your confidence. But when I think back about what I've done and what I've accomplished, it's surreal because there's no way that I believe that I could have written out a business plan to accomplish this within this amount of time.
Yeah. I'm, as I'm wondering, as I'm looking at it, not even wondering, it has really just hit me. In this short space of time, you've been catapulted to success. Do you believe that this is preparation for something greater? And if so, what might that be?
Yeah. You know, I've gotten to the point where I just, you know, say, hey, whatever God wants, whatever his will is, let that be done. Many times when we have our desires, we have ways in which we think that things should go. And many times God kind of laughs at those plans. So I've got to the point where I'm like, you know, whatever it is, you know, I feel like, especially when you do civil rights work, it has to come from the heart because you're risking your life, believe it or not. It's not just the case when we think about like a personal injury case. Who's going to get mad at you? The insurance company. But with civil rights, a lot of times there's people that are very strong, back the blue. There's a lot of racists, unfortunately, that still exist. Sometimes these people are emboldened on some of these cases. So we get threats. You know, I get emails sometimes that are, you know, crazy that we have to keep in consideration. But for the most part, it's something that you have to be fueled and you have to be authentic in why you're doing it. So it's something that so when I think about plans that might be in the future, you know, I don't know, but I've just kind of got to the point of being receptive for whatever that God's plan is. You know, I'm just making myself available to do.
Hey man, I'm here for it. I'm here for it. I'm here for the journey. I'm here for the climb. Certainly the success that your firm, that you have achieved thus far is not one that we see every day. Is not one that we even expect to see, because again, the speed at which it has been accomplished and sort of that upward trajectory, it's virtually, to the people looking on, impossible, but you've done it. Certainly I believe that God has a purpose and a plan for this. And especially, you know, as you continue to develop and explore and even understand sort of the bigger, broader purpose, I think in 4, 5 to 10 years from now, if you think your mind is blown now, I think then it's probably going to be completely blown out. Yeah. Because God is about to reveal something greater. Man, I'm impressed by the work that you're doing. I'm proud to call you a friend, a brother, a colleague, because, you know, guys like you inspire a lot of us, even without even saying it. Wow. Just your presence and what you're doing, you're trailblazing. It is certainly inspiring. I appreciate it. Hey man, I truly want to thank you for taking the time today to share your story. If folks are looking for you and want to be, you know, want to hear about what you do, if you had to give them the quick, 30 to 1 minute elevator pitch, give it to them right now. Hey, who you are, where to find you, and what do you do, and why they need to choose you.
Real simple. You know, you can follow me at my name, www.LaMarr.com. Also Instagram, same thing, at LaMarr. Or if you can call our firm at 877-GET-PAID. We are a firm that believes in advocating for the underserved. We are aggressive. We are assertive. We're bold. We take cases, obviously we have to run a business, but we also take cases that have very significant public interest. And we want to make sure that we are changing the world in which we live in. So we operate from the heart. So again, if you have any type of matter that you would like reviewed, don't hesitate to reach out.
Ladies and gentlemen, you heard it from the man himself. The man himself. Follow Atty. LaMarr for more great content, to stay abreast as to what's happening on the public scene. Again, a lot of high profile cases. If you know of a high profile case, this might be the call that you need to make. Atty., it was a pleasure having you today, man.
Absolutely.
Thanks again for sharing your time and your story.
Thank you so much, man.
Thank you. Absolutely.